With me this week on Business This Week, not Lesiba, unfortunately, but Lesiba Mothata is Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, and with him is Gary Booysen, Director at Rand Swift. Let's kick us off here, Lesiba, on the budget. We've talked about a post-budget drama with the Commissioner of SARS and the Finance Minister. That's obviously going to run for a bit. Yeah. But let's look at the budget itself and the aftermath and how we, as the dust has settled, how we should think about it.
Right. So the budget, you could see the government is using tax as its lever to curtail the problems that are happening on the revenue side. So they hiked capital gains tax, they've introduced new taxes. Although they supported the lower income earners, but the budget creep up from the middle income earners going up, they're going to pay a lot more in taxes as a result.
But there was a general view, I think, that there could have been more tax increases. Correct. Which would not have been a surprise.
No, yeah, so there weren't any personal income taxes. Corporates, they didn't see any corporate tax going up, which was a good thing. That taxes never help you, right? You just get the money now for 2 years, but if you don't have economic growth, it's going to be problematic. Economic growth, we didn't see any structural reform coming in that budget. But there were talk to curtail this wage bill. They seem to have focused on that a bit. In other words, it'll freeze the hiring. In fact, there's evidence that the provinces, the growth of headcount has declined in the regions, in the provinces.
I mean, just also maybe 2 points I'd like to ask you about. I mean, there's criticism that we need to shrink the size of our government by probably 30%.
Yeah.
I mean, this budget didn't go anywhere near, I mean, even with the hiring freeze, it doesn't go anywhere near to addressing the problem. Yeah. And two, the sale of state-owned entities, was that not what everyone was really looking for? If we had got a privatization, we would have seen a stronger.
All right, well, let's argue about the second one, but take the first one, Lesiba. What was the first one again, Gary?
Just the shrinking of the size of government. Yeah.
The government. It's an executive decision. When the number one citizen of the country decides what happens, he actually enlarged the size of the government. He makes a call. I want this department, I want this much. It really is an executive decision, not resting on Pravin's shoulder. No. So I wouldn't have expected much there because it didn't come through from the SONA. Okay. Yeah. What came through from the SONA was, we'll readjust, maybe we'll have one parliamentary area without the legislature there and the administration there. Anyway, so
that's also not going to solve the problem.
No. So that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So in terms of consolidation, there are efforts. The Treasury gets it. The second-tier leadership at the Treasury gets exactly what's happening. I was in Parliament, and you can see the guys are with it. In fact, world-class understanding of what's going on. Just from the literature, the depth of the conversation that comes out, they get it. And you can
in fact, the documents that the Treasury puts out, I was told by someone who works in this world in Britain, he said, we can't do this. Yeah. The budget review, the detail that they go into, the explanation, he said, not just world-class, best in the world.
Indeed. Even when you ask a question, without going far, they say, page 50, look at the capital gains paragraph, you'll find that we're talking about a 3% increase on the companies. I mean, it really is world class. So all I'm saying here is that there's an understanding of what needs to be done, and there were efforts to make sure that it is done within the confines of what's happening. No one really knows what the political forces are to put these things together. So consolidation has happened, but it's not sufficient. The only thing that is a problem, maybe two, is that growth is not at the center of this discussion. Potential growth in South Africa used to be about 3%. Before the financial crisis. The crisis happened, it got chipped to, say, 2.5%. But because of whatever reasons, including domestic outcomes, potential GDP is now at 2.1%. These outcomes from the budget are not addressing at all the ability of this economy to lift up potential GDP. So we are undershooting it continuously. In fact, forecasts to undershoot it both this year and the next, which is a problem because on the other end of the balance sheet, liabilities are growing.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
we need, we can carry on, but
Yeah.
we need to answer Gary's second question,
Yeah.
which was?
State-owned entities.
Is it privatization?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says he's not going to privatize. In it, it reflects the philosophy.
He specifically said, he departed from his text, the
Yeah.
minister.
Yeah.
Said, no, we're not going to privatize.
No, it's a philosophy, right? It's an ideology, because if you believe, see, here's the thing: South Africa, in its construct, is laissez-faire. 80% of gross capital formation is from the private sector. In order to increase the contribution from SOEs, which is part of that gross capital formation in the government, a lot more is needed. You'll need to crowd out an outcome that is already happening, business investment. But it's an expensive process, and you'll have to borrow from it. They're not going to privatize.
But also, I think an answer there, Gary, is that they don't want to, as a government, as a movement. There are too many alliance partners that don't want it, Communist Party and so on. And I think also that maybe this was the reaction to the budget, is that a realization that you might think Pravin Gordhan's a very good finance minister, but he can only do so much. There's a technical element to it, and then there is a political element, but in the end, he can only do so much.
There's like 129 on the website showing SOEs.
Nice to stay on the politics, but let's talk about the ratings agencies. And the big question was, well, is this budget enough for the ratings agencies not to do a downgrade?
In its form, before the outcomes of today, the answer was no. Because
not enough done.
Not enough. Growth is not at the center. Interest payments on debt are the fastest growing component of government expenditure. In fact, for a rand earned by the government, 12 cents is paying interest. Now, this is before the full tightening is coming from the SARB, and before we could see what happens on the actual downgradings on South Africa's debt.
Yeah.
So it could get worse.
All right, we need to, unfortunately, wrap up this part of the discussion. So you're saying there's going to be a downgrade by the ratings agencies. Gary's last word to you?
Yeah, I agree. You can see it also in the way that the bank shares have performed. You can see, I think the market's already priced it in. And you can see it also with bond yields blowing out today. It's pricing it in as we speak.
And the latest, let's just look there at the rand dollar to update, 16.21. It's gone from, what was it?
I
when we
can't
looked
see
at
that we
16.15.
Yeah.
So it's another 6 cents just while we've been speaking in the last 10 minutes.
It's all very ominous. It's all very ominous.
So I have to ask this question then. The president intervened after he saw the damage, or they persuaded him that there'd been damage. Is this just going to keep on sliding until there's another intervention of some kind?
Well, I don't know, hey. To need an intervention for an outcome, and it came from the top brass in the banking sector, who at this point are in full alert, and I'm wondering if phone calls are not going around to intervene again.
I would think there's some phone calls.
Monday can be a very interesting open on the JC.
And what kind of intervention can we have now? We can't bring back Pravin again.
No, but what you can do, and maybe this is the intention of the statement, is to flush out, to get clarity on this dispute and get the president to make a call, and maybe that's the last call we can make now in this part of the discussion. Lesiba Mothata, Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, and Gary Booysen is Director at Rand Swiss. Thanks to both of you for joining us tonight.